There is no need to judge. I consider myself to be primarily a left-brained and skeptical person. I've been trained as a scientist and veterinarian and had been in practice for over 11 years when I attended my first Brian Weiss seminar. A friend of mine and I had read many lives, many masters, and we were so excited that he was coming to Fort Lauderdale that we got our tickets 9 months in advance and counted down the days. We were both impressed that a well-respected and well-trained doctor had made such an incredible discovery, and we knew that he had faced ridicule and scorn from his fellow scientists and physicians by coming forward with this mystical technique to rapidly solve unexplained pains, complicated phobias, and hang-ups. I had ordered Dr. Weiss's CDs soon after reading several of his books. While listening to Through Time into Healing one night, I had a completely unexpected and vivid vision of a woman looking into a gilt-framed mirror. Her face was long and thin, white and European in appearance, and I had the impression of late 1700s style clothing and headdress. Her curly, reddish-brown hair framed her face. In the next flash of vision, my hand was trailing along a curved wall, like a tower, and I just knew that I was in a formal garden. I came out of the trance, completely amazed that I, who don't even remember my dreams, could have had such an experience. The day of Brian Weiss's seminar finally arrived, and my friend and her husband met me early at the convention center. We were excited to see Dr. Weiss in person, and we had great seats in the second row. We were amused by the number of people who had brought blankets, pillows, and yoga mats. Turns out, they were the smart ones. During the first morning regression, an incredible thing happened. At first, I saw nothing significant during the lifetime. When asked about the death scene, I felt the blade of the guillotine and observed a head rolling into a hateful crowd. The head came to a stop, and then observed a head rolling into a hateful crowd. The head came to a stop, and I experienced in first person, as if I were the head, a 30-something, dark-haired woman leaning over the head, jeering and yelling insults at it. Quite separate from my thoughts, as I was engaged in the scene, I heard a message: you know what it's like to be judged. I awoke out of the trance, and the chronic neck pain that I had suffered for over 4 long years was instantly gone. Afraid to believe it, I kept rolling my neck and bending it every way, no more pain. After the break, we chose a person we did not know personally and exchanged personal items. I chose a woman in a seat close to me. She held my cell phone, I held her ring. During this exercise, Dr. Weiss instructed us not to filter the images that we might receive. My only distinct vision was that of the triangular window of a small speedboat, the type that is on the side of the windshield. I had a bare impression of a lake, with mountains and forest in the background. We came out of the trance, and I told her what I had experienced. She listened and said that it really didn't apply to her, but her aunt, who was visiting from up north and who was about 4 seats away from us, lived on a lake surrounded by mountains and forests, and she had a small speedboat. My partner then told me that almost the instant she was into the trance, she had an almost overpowering scent of facial soap, not unpleasant, but very strong. She said that she kept seeing this white bird soaring around. Her aunt overheard her and said that she had had the exact same experience, an overwhelming scent of soap, so strong that she was sniffing the people around her during the exercise, trying to figure out where it came from. She too kept seeing a white bird floating and soaring around, and she heard the message: there is no need to judge. Excited about these incredible things that had never happened to a studious and often unimaginative person like myself, I took the opportunity to stand up and address the people in the audience as I told them about this experience. I also told them what it meant, which I will reveal in a minute. After I sat down, the 2 women in front of us turned around and said that they had both smelled the powerful scent of soap, and that they kept hearing the message, let go, let go. The smell that I had always associated with my paternal grandmother, who had died several years previously, was her Dove facial soap. A week before the seminar, I had been thinking a lot about my life and the things I wanted to change. One of my many flaws is judging others too harshly, without considering facts and on very limited information. I suspect it's rooted in my loving but judgmental Midwestern family, which would teach us children about life around the dinner table by speaking of the kids in other families who had turned to drugs or had gotten pregnant. They would always say, "We're so glad you would never do anything like that." We've got great kids. Of course, they meant to teach about staying away from drugs and premarital sex, but it had the unintended consequence of making us more judgmental, because there was little discussion of compassion for the actual person who turned to drugs or of the circumstances that may have led them down that path. I had also been thinking of my beautiful and loving paternal grandmother, Sally, who was alone in the last years of her life after caring for my grandfather, who eventually died of Alzheimer's disease. She lived alone in a big house and did not get many visitors. I would come once a year to do genealogy research in the tiny town of Mount Olive, Illinois, which had been founded by my father's family and which had a rich history in old newspaper clippings. Each morning, I would rush out of the house to get in as much research as possible before the library closed. I remembered, quite clearly, an incident in which my grandmother, shy and sad, had said to me, "Of course you wouldn't want to spend the morning with an old lady like me." I had hugged her and told her that it was my last day there, that the library would be open, so I had to go, but that I would see her that night. I have always regretted that choice. I could have learned just as much about our family history by listening to my grandma, and I worried that she thought I didn't love her. I know that grandma used this seminar to tell me to let it go, and that someone was giving me a very good lesson about not judging others. My life has changed dramatically since the seminar. I have a terrific story to relate to others, but more important, it stimulates interest in a subject of which most people are not even aware. Past life therapy changed the way I think about others, made me a more loving person, stopped my terrible neck pain, and gave me the tools to help and teach others that the most important lesson that we can learn on this earth is how to love each other unconditionally. Judith Oliver: Judging others and judging ourselves are negative and even harmful actions, often leading to great pain and discomfort. Judith eventually learned the ultimate lesson, that of unconditional love. We keep incarnating to learn this great truth in all its manifestations. We see so much in Judith's story. A person can be scientifically trained, logical, and skeptical, and still have rich, life-transforming experiences. Just keep an open mind to the possibilities. Consciousness does not end with the death of the physical body. Judith was not in her severed head in the guillotine scene. Her consciousness was hovering above and around it, observing the people near her and the actions of the dark-haired woman. She received spiritual instruction even as she experienced the mob and its hatred. The lesson about judging others and allowing yourself to be judged transcended lifetimes. As a bonus, remembering the guillotine trauma instantly healed Judith's chronic neck pain in her present life. Throughout time, we will meet with our loved ones again and again, either on the other side or back here in the physical state. Judith's grandmother seemed to be present, her soapy scent perceived by many people at the workshop, reminding Judith of her love and of the lesson to let go of judgment and of guilt. In the end, Soulmate, this is a part of Zindagi Ki Roshni consultancy. It has been established for those who have lost someone and for those who are very sad in their life. About 100 PDF books and 20 short audio books of this topic will be sent to those who join it. This data will be sent to their email or WhatsApp. If you want to join this organization, then please send WhatsApp message to this number.